Yeah, sorry. I just it's with a family member, so they'll be
Oh, cool.
understanding a little bit late. But so I think the issue, and maybe you were going to address this later on, was the hypothetical more, or at least for me, it's more so the hypothetical
Yep.
than.
Strike immediately? No.
Um, I don't think you're a communist. I think like anybody who thinks that is either just looking at clips of other people talking or
I appreciate
taking
that.
you out of context. And
I
there's
appreciate you saying that.
I mean, I don't think I don't think I don't think Pisco is a communist either. But like just having Aaron in with him and having a segment dedicated to Straight Raid, like he has a segment dedicated to Straight Raid entirely. It's called Her Take. Pisco literally has a segment on his stream dedicated to her. Like what? Okay, I mean like if you're not communist, then you're at least like very sympathetic to people like that. It's crazy.
yes, I think in between like you and the other people on Live and Learn, obviously there's a spectrum of different beliefs about things. But I think um, as a centrist myself who voted for Kamala, I think you have to make um, different sacrifices to in order. Like there are so many things I disagreed with Kamala on, but
Yeah, I get
um,
you. I get you. I
yeah,
totally
but you have to
understand.
make
You have to make
sacrifices in order to do
sacrifices,
that.
and you know what? I understand that it's I'm very practical. My whole thing is pragmatism. My favorite justice is Breyer. Why is my favorite justice Breyer? Because he's practical. I like Hutch that he's a pragmatist. At heart, I'm a
I like Breyer
pragmatist,
too.
and I think that being a pragmatist
He's like the ice
almost
cream
means
man.
ideologically I'm not a communist or a socialist because I don't think like there's an inherent benefit to having the kind of communist or socialist based solution. I just want to see what's best for outcome. So if you were to convince me
Right.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
If socialism, if some aspects of socialism were good, you'd probably take those on, and I think I think that's a reasonable take. I think the one thing that is my concern is similar to how Trump opened the door for Catholic nationalists and neo Nazis and things like that. Um, I wouldn't want to
Okay.
see that same swing left, where and maybe it's not possible that this could happen, but um,
Hmm.
that would be my concern with, for instance, like electing Hassan, like
yeah.
in that
So
scenario.
just to be clear, if Hassan were being proposed as a Democratic official who would lead the party or who would be, you know, in a position of authority in the party, I would be against that. I would be against Hassan being like in charge of writing the party platform. Notwithstanding the fact that I supported Mamdani in the mayoral primary, I just view Mamdani and Hassan as different. I hope you do as well. And if you don't, by the way, then you have to contend with, if you're a Destiny fan, Destiny's support of Mamdani and people that should fall behind Mamdani right now, right? Like he does say that the Democrats should support Mamdani. So I see a difference there. Maybe I would support.
There's nothing wrong with supporting Mamdani, but I think it's just really cringe how people idolize him. Like whenever someone like it's okay, dude, you should support him on a pragmatic basis. It's someone to rally behind, obviously. But like the thing is that when it's convenient because once you prop him up on a pedestal where you're glorifying his wife, saying how sexy he is and stuff like that, you're going to be really disappointed once he starts to become more and more moderate, or he starts to not live up to a lot of the goals that he might have promised, right? The reality is that uh you shouldn't have a parasocial relationship with your hero. Maybe you shouldn't have parasocial relationships, especially with politicians. I don't know, just okay.
Someone like Mamdani, or I think AOC is even more to the right of Mamdani.
For the record, okay, I totally support a parasocial relationship with Biden. Okay, listen, with Hunter Biden, hell yeah. Not Mamdani, no.
I think other people are more to the right of Mamdani. But yeah, no, I wouldn't propose a Hassan to be in charge of the DNC, to be in charge of the Democrats, and to be in charge of the platform. That does not in any way, I think, address the hypothetical or any of these other issues. But yeah, go ahead. What's your disagreement? Do you think that I've done anything wrong or I've done anything dishonest?
Well, I guess the one thing I am trying to get at is I think Destiny was a little right in as far as like not
Oh,
necessarily moving the goalpost, but like it was
he said
unclear the
Destiny was right.
hypothetical.
Over.
So when you say Hassan wouldn't necessarily be like running the Dem,
Bro, I'm not just riding with Biden. I'm riding Biden. Okay.
you say that like what is exactly the comparison between him and Trump then?
Wait a second. So the first thing is that the goalposts were moved, or how somehow there was something unclear about the initial that I was moving something.
That's for me, it's more confusion.
Okay,
like,
so
Destiny was saying that you were moving the goalposts.
You tell me if you think that this is unclear. Hassan or Trump, who you're voting for if you had to pick? You think that's unclear?
I think it depends on, like, if we were to say, like, in the hypothetical, like, as is right now, Hassan has his exact following. Hassan, for some reason, gets voted in.
Sorry,
the Democrats are not
sorry
all behind
this,
him.
But I'd like an answer to the question. You can explain, right? But like, do you think the question, who are you voting for, Hassan or Trump, if you had to pick between those two, right? So this is the exact quote. Hassan or Trump, who are you voting for if you had to pick? Do you think that that's unclear?
I think it really does depend on the scenario. So, like, if he did have full backing of the Democratic Party and he could enact his authoritarian regime, I'd probably vote for Trump.
Okay, but like, if I ask you, who would you vote for? Who would you vote for in 2024 if the election were done again, knowing what you know now? Kamala or Trump? Is that question unclear?
No, because I know her platform and I know the party's support for the platform.
Oh, okay, but like, if I give you another hypothetical that hasn't happened yet, like if Kamala ran again for 2028 and Trump was somehow on the ballot, who would you vote for, Kamala or Trump? Is that question unclear?
Kamala, but
okay, yeah. So the question, I think that a fair understanding of that question is, who would you vote for president? Obviously, I think that's the context. Between those two candidates, and I'm not implying some kind of ultimate control factor, like assuming that you had complete and total power to able to do, some amount of what you want, but not all of what you want, and you have power for some things. Like, I think that most people take that question and like, all right, who would you vote for as a candidate for president under the normal American system?
Yeah, but so I guess it would depend on like his cabinet picks and things like that, because obviously Hassan is going to do similar things.
Well, the problem is that Hassan hates America. Why would you? It's like, a good example is like, do you want Milosevic to be still the president of Ukraine? The person who is essentially a Russian puppet? He tried to destroy the state from within. He tried to become a dictator or a puppet of Russia, no? You guys know who I'm talking about, right? Milosevic, of the Euromaidan. If you have someone, if you have someone who hates the country, who governs the country, they're still gonna become a dictator. Like, oh Lord. I mean, maybe Hassan. I mean, the only thing I can see kind of is like, would Hassan be incompetent? Would Hassan cater more towards his ego than versus like being active enough to enact like a revolution? Yeah, it's just. Yeah.
To Trump.
I know, but would you okay, if Biden were the actual nominee?
But like, let's be very fair. Hassan would probably start funding Iran. The force is being anti-American and pro-fascism. The whole question is so stupid. It's also a really stupid question too. It's like I can see it turn either way, but the fact that it can be either way is the part that's insane. For me, Kamala Harris is clearly better than Trump. For me, I have to weigh between Hassan and Trump. Really? I'm actually really unsure between the two. I'm really unsure between Hassan and Trump because I'm not sure if Hassan is also willing to black bag people off the streets. I actually do legitimately think he might consider doing it. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, like, fuck, this is such an unfair question because Kamala Harris is nowhere near Hassan.
Nominee in 2024, would you vote for Biden or Trump?
Hassan so he can get noticed? That's
right. So
retarded.
Where is this analogy where like Biden wasn't actually the candidate in 2024, right? So you are able to answer that question completely clear. Why?
Because I know what would happen with Biden. The problem is Hassan is not a politician. He's a streamer. So you'd have to assume some sort of like.
So would you vote for Destiny in 2024 or Trump?
Destiny.
Oh God, you're putting me in a hard spot there.
Too easy.
Yeah, is that question unclear to you? Like, is that question where, I mean, when Destiny has ultimate, complete dictatorial control, like, is that unclear to you?
JD Vance versus Hassan is the real question. And I'd vote Hassan even before voting started if I could in that scenario. I think that JD Vance is smarter than Hassan, unfortunately. I think that if JD Vance was in charge, this guy would have a fucking time frame for getting to neo-fascism as fast as possible. I really do think so. So yeah, I think I would vote Hassan against JD Vance as well, because JD Vance is just like, he's like one of the most evil people to ever. He's like Stephen Miller, you know? He's kind of like that.
Well, because of I would say it's different because of the respect that Destiny has for the system as it is.
Oh, and Trump, but I can make some fucking, so okay, Bernie Sanders or Trump in 2024.
I mean, I'd pick Bernie Sanders, but I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to do.
So the nature of how clear the question is depends on the merits of the person's underlying opinions.
Sorry, say that again.
The nature of how clear the question is, who would you vote for, depends on the respective people's like fundamental respect for the system. That determines whether or not the question is clear or not.
Yeah, it does to a degree.
Well, yeah, because we have to. One of the biggest problems right now is that we have trouble maintaining our democracy. The reason why we have so much trouble maintaining it right now is because there is a bad faith usage of the system that is ongoing right now. Having an establishment supporter rather than an ideological person like Hassan is actually better, because they are at least willing to respect the institution and strengthen norms and traditions. Someone like Hassan, he probably would sacrifice democracy for higher viewership. So,
because there's in my mind, Trump and Hassan are somewhat close together. Is like kind of like the horseshoe thing, as far as they're both trying to enact authoritarian regimes. Like, if I were to vote for Hassan,
also
I would know that he's going
Trip.
to do some crazy shit. He supports Russia. He supports China. He supports terrorists in the Middle East. Like, there's a whole bunch of crazy shit that he supports, and he's against the United States. He would pull us out of a whole bunch of shit. I
think that there's so you're basically saying,
again, Hassan would care about reducing the influence of the American empire. Yeah, but the thing is that I don't even know how truthful he is. Like, would he want to reduce the access of power only on stream because he doesn't even believe in it and he just wants to get more and more clout? Or is it that he truly is like a true believer, you know? Like, he's probably is a true believer, but he probably values money more and stability more. I don't fucking know. It's like really hard for me to guess, you know? It's just difficult.
The question is unclear to the extent that I'm proposing a candidate.
But like the thing is that again we have to compare Hassan and Trump, which like if that question gives me pause, you're asking the wrong question.
That what?
If that question gives me pause, you're asking the wrong question.
It's almost like I think it's
him blowing the
unclear.
Yeah. Yikes, that was a bad sign.
To the degree. So do you mind?
Yeah, I'll ask that a different way. So, so the question is clear to you when I say Joe Biden or Trump. Who are you voting for 2024? If Joe Biden were the nominee, of course he wasn't the nominee. It was Kamala. But like, if I say Joe Biden or Trump 2024, who are you voting for? You would that question you said would be clear. If I said Destiny or Trump, who are you voting for 2024? That question would be clear to you. You would understand that question. When I say Hassan versus Trump, you say that question's unclear. I can't answer that, or like you need further clarity. So I'm trying to get you like, what makes the question clear? Yeah, go for it.
So the question isn't necessarily unclear in the sense of it's pretty basic. Like, you have to choose one or the other. The problem is they're so close in terms of outcome. I want to dig deeper into what the possibilities are.
Okay,
so like if you had to,
clear?
It's like asking like someone who's never tried like almond butter versus peanut butter. Like, what's the difference? Like, tell me more.
So I want to address Scooby-Dooder. So we're just stealing. I'll get to this thing that I made it unclear.
Oh yeah, guys, hit the like button. Thank you.
Because he wouldn't be able to institute his ideal system. I think that makes it more clear what I'm referencing and not lack of clarity at all. But we're just dealing with the first question. Is the first question clear or not? And what I'm hearing is I would want to know more about the other possibilities. But like, is the question fundamentally clear? I think it is like fundamentally
No,
clear.
I
don't
agree.
know. Okay.
I agree. That question in and of itself is clear. I think
Okay.
the problem is the answer itself is not clear.
So,
because you're trying to choose between two similar evils.
This is Destiny's response. Quote, Trump at least has some vague notion of supporting America, however misguided it is. If he destroys the country, it'd be a byproduct of his stupidity and narcissism. With Hassan, it would be by ideological design. He supports foreign terrorist groups, despises U.S. allies, supports historical revisionism to paint U.S. adversaries in a better light, has admitted that he would ban opposing political parties in the United States and would lock his enemies forever in re-education camps if they didn't agree with his political ideology. I haven't seen him say that. As a
Masaki, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships, buddy. Thank you so much.
I'm a guy.
What? Fuck.
Hey, Jokester Elliot. You got lucky. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted. I appreciate that. W Misaki, guys. W Misaki. Thank you. Yeah, W. Remember, you can always donate via Super Chat or membership. Alright? Please consider it, okay? It's one of the best ways you can do to support the stream. And I always appreciate it, okay? Thank you.
Marxist-Leninist, he would support the creation of a single vanguard party to violently enforce all these changes. This is just what we know of Hassan's views publicly. We also know that he stated on shows that he hides his true beliefs so he funnel people further down the radicalization pipeline. We've already survived 4 years of Trump. I'm not convinced we'd survive 4 years in a Hassan-style regime. So, do you agree, based on that response that Destiny gave, and I ask you 2 questions. First, he didn't answer the question, correct? Who he'd vote for?
Because the question is retarded. Because the question is retarded. Again, the purpose of the question is to demonstrate a clear answer. The purpose of the question is to demonstrate a clear answer. I could wake up and say, I could be voting for Hassan. Or I could wake up and say, I could be voting for Trump. Even if I were, it doesn't matter which answer I give, right? So if I give the answer that I would rather vote for Hassan, then there is a counter to that, right? Oh, so you do agree that, you know, it's better to team up with lefties or whatever, which doesn't prove the point anyway. Oh, I would rather vote for Trump. Okay, you're delusional because clearly Hassan is on our side. And then now you would have to argue why voting for Trump despite everything that he's done, and you're a hindsight Andy, okay? Again, this is a hindsight Andy question, right? It literally is. It is the question in its design is bad faith because it doesn't carry the conversation forward. All it does is set you up for a gotcha, right? Does that make sense, guys? Like, sometimes, this is like advanced debate tactics, okay? Sometimes someone will ask you a question and they'll force you to answer it, but the thing is that, like, no matter what you answer, it's like a pitfall, if that makes sense, right? It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap question that you shouldn't answer. You shouldn't answer because it's bad faith, okay? It doesn't serve. The first thing you should ask is, how does this carry the conversation forward? So depending on which answer, how do we make progress on this conversation?
Not directly, no.
Yeah, he didn't answer the
point.
question.
I think the implication
you want
is
a clip,
but he didn't. But the truth is, he didn't answer. He just said these are some ways in which Trump is worse. I'm not sure we would survive it. You could say, nonetheless, I would vote for Hassan.
Right? Yeah.
Okay,
There's no
okay.
direct answer.
Correct. There's no direct answer, so you don't have a problem with me saying like
What?
But let's just be clear.
How is that not a direct answer? I feel like it, like, fuck. You don't have to. Okay, can the answer to the question just simply be not sure? Can the answer? I don't think Pisco would accept that. I think that if your answer to the question is not sure, I genuinely do not think he would accept that. I think he would just say you're like a fucking slimy weasel for not answering the question. He answered exactly below. He literally just read out that Destiny would want to vote for Hassan. Like that, you literally just read that out, mate.
You know, who would you vote for? Like, you don't have a problem with
That's
me
a direct
getting clarity on that, right?
answer.
Correct? Because he didn't answer.
No, yeah.
Okay.
A response. I think he misinterpreted the response. As,
And
you were
based on
asking for a
that
clear answer.
response, when he says we already survived 4 years of Trump, don't you think it's clear based on that?
By the way, okay, this is what I'm saying. This is why I say Pisco is bad faith. This is a great example of why Pisco is like actively bad faith. I don't know if he's... I actually do think he's smart enough to deliberately make bad faith questions. I actually do think so. Okay? Like, I don't think Pisco is dumb and is just simply asking bad faith questions because he's like chancing himself into these like bad faith lines of reasoning or whatever the fuck. I think he's like actively bad faith. There's just no fucking shot, right? There's no fucking shot that question is serious.
Response that he's responding to Trump as it was, right? Trump as we've actually seen it, right?
Just FYI, this question is being asked because the topic of the conversation is, do you want to team up with communists for your left coalition against Donald Trump? That is what the question being asked is. How does that like forward the conversation? It doesn't progress anything.
Right? Like,
what?
He's not saying Trump in some ideal scenario where Trump has ultimate power. He's talking about Trump with the constraint.
Just FYI, okay? The answer is yes. If communists are willing to take a stack of flyers and pass them around the neighborhood and knock on doors, then yeah, fucking go for it, okay? Like, we need all the help we can get. But I'm assuming that you're being good faith here in helping. And second of all, you're not fucking running for president. If you're running for president, I'll probably be against you for a candidate. Yes, I would. The reason I'll be against you is because you're only good for passing out flyers and telling people to go vote. You're probably not good as a fucking president. You're probably insane as a president, but you should probably still knock on doors, okay? Like, the thing is that these two are two completely different topics, but Pisco is conflating them as one. Ergo, he is bad faith, right? Does that explanation make sense? The question on whether you would have someone as president has no bearing on whether or not you want them as a part of your coalition to help out, to get people to vote left, right? Like, it has no bearing. So therefore, the question is bad faith.
Correct? When he says, we've already survived 4 years of Trump, that's him analyzing Trump with constraints, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So it's clear, I think, from Destiny's response here, he's addressing Trump with constraints and Hassan with constraints, and those constraints are the natural constraints that we would assume based on the question, who would you vote for, right? How he's responding here,
you just said to me instead.
Doesn't seem to suggest that he's misunderstanding the question, because he says we've already survived 4 years of Trump. Thereby, implicit in the question isn't Trump with almighty power, it's Trump with constraints. And the constraints that are normally, given to the presidency and the constitutional system. And so don't you agree that the best reading of Destiny's response here would be that he's understanding the question the way I asked it, that is, with normal constraints? He's understanding the question fundamentally when he says we've already survived 4 years of Trump.
Just a reminder of like, I just simply had to ask. Fashion 40, thank you so much for becoming a member. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. W. Also, can I just say that, like, this is why it's not just like this line of discourse that made people suspicious of Pisco, right? Like, it's not just because of this. It's because Pisco actively defended Hassan against Ethan Klein. He basically said that the Ethan Klein lawsuit was bogus, and he went hard against Ethan Klein. Right? Remember that? Yeah.
He's talking about the current Trump, not.
He also defended Hassan when it came to the airport detainment.
The hypothetical Trump with no guardrails, correct?
Shit.
Yes, in that case, but is he talking about?
So we're talking about the pattern of behavior. I still don't think he's a communist, but he's clearly sympathetic to these people, right? Like, the thing is that, yeah, I mean, fuck, but at the same time, it's like, oh, God. I don't fucking know anymore, okay?
Hassan, it seems more like he's talking about Hassan without. It's almost like he's not making a
pretzel. No, he's turning into a cuck, a fucking useful idiot for the communist left.
So you think that the best faith reading of what Destiny's saying here is...
It's kind of like Candace Owens, but for the right? So, someone to just simply use as a tool, someone you don't actually respect, right?
That he's comparing Trump with constraints to Hassan without constraints. You think that's the best faith reading of what Destiny's interpretation of my question was, is specifically compare Trump as he was, Trump with the constraints that he had, versus Hassan without constraints, unleashed with a full Marxist-Leninist society?
Is he twisting himself into making Destiny's response to his stupid question sound unhinged? I guess so, but like, even this debate is unhinged. Well, yes. Actually, yes. He is being incredibly bad faith. Yes, he is. First of all, Destiny did answer the question. He said he would vote for Hassan, okay? Second of all, Destiny expressed, like, he was unsure of the answer to the question, which is totally reasonable, because you don't know, okay? You're trying to measure the two, right? Like, fuck, it would depend on how Hassan ran his fucking campaign. It's a hard question to answer, right? Considering how you have hindsight Andy, like, bad faith, like, fucking shit, right? Because remember, now you know everything Trump has done, but you don't know all the things that Hassan would do as president. You just don't know, right? So even the comparison is unfair, because you're asking the question with the knowledge, with the shared knowledge of what Trump has done, but we don't know what Hassan would do in power. So it is a hindsight Andy question. Yeah. You're asking it with hindsight in mind.
I mean, to a degree,
So
can I explain my
stupid.
answer?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I would say that would be my interpretation more so, because if you were to look at it with the actual constraints going against Hassan, I don't think he gets shit passed, and we survive that relatively easily.
But all I'm talking about here is Destiny's understanding of my question, right? If in his answer, he's not saying like, well, Trump without constraint, Trump could do whatever if he had full dictatorial power, and you know, even though he could do anything, I think he would do less than. He's comparing the Trump we actually have to Hassan, and I think the best faith interpretation of that is he's fundamentally understanding the question. He's fundamentally understanding the question, which is, who would you vote for given the constraints of the normal American system? And if he's not, then he's being unfair, because then he's doing not an apples to apples comparison. He's doing a comparison between Trump with constraints versus Hassan without constraints, and I think that's bad faith for him to assume that I'm asking that. So I'm going to assume good faith.
I'm not assuming good faith on Destiny's part.
So do you think that the best reading of Destiny's response is that he understood the question as I understood it, that is, with both candidates having normal constraints?
Given his responses further down, I think he's almost in bad faith responding, because he's...
Hang on, I just want to show, and I'm sorry to do this, folks. I really just want to show you guys what I'm talking about. So I am going to show you guys what I'm talking about real quick, so you can actually see and actually follow along to what I'm talking about. So just 1 second. I just want to show the people.
Didn't he just debate him? Good question.
So this was my question, which we've now agreed on here is clear, or that you understand to be clear. His response is, Trump at least has some vague notions of support in America, however misguided it is. If he destroys the country, it'd be a product of his stupidity and narcissism. With Hassan, it would be by ideological design. He supports all this, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end here, he says, we already survived 4 years of Trump. I'm not convinced we'd survive 4 years in a Hassan-styled regime. Based on this phrase, it must be the case that Destiny is understanding this question as Trump with constraints, correct?
No, I agree with that.
Okay. So it seems like we're on the same page here. It seems like I'm asking the question, you understand the question, I understand the question, and Steven understands my question, and he's comparing the Trump we actually had, not the Trump unleashed with his...
Dude, I mean, like, agree or disagree, I think that we would survive 4 years of Hassan, to be fair, okay? Like, the first term, right? I'm not talking about the second term or anything, but I think we would be able to survive a first term of Hassan. But, like, the thing is that, like, dude, it's just... It's a bad faith question. How many times do I have to say this? It is, like, actively and actually a fucking bad faith question. It just is. It's a bad faith question. You ask it in the first place because you want to put them in a gotcha. All right, and I explain why.
His full, control over the government in every, in the way that Hassan would have control if he actually were able to destroy and recreate society as he wished. I think it would be bad faith to assume my question implied a lack of constraint, correct? Or it would be to think that that's what I meant, or that I'm like changing it somehow.
No, I think when you...
Bro, if Pisco has a communist girlfriend, this is like 100% like, I hope she's watching, bro.
ask the question, you're asking in very practical terms.
Yes.
Like,
not
would you rather have this that we have now, or have this guy that maybe has some crazy ideas?
right?
But,
Because if I were to say, hey,
I was just joking.
if you had to choose someone to create society and to create an ideal system without any,
I was just trying to make a meme.
without any constraints to power, I would say that, right? I would ask the question, hey, who would you trust to make a society and to run the show completely without any constraints? I wouldn't ask who would you vote for president, right?
No, you're 100% serious.
Yeah. So hang on.
Well, yeah, but I don't think Pisco's gonna fucking cuck himself on stream for his girlfriend. What? No, not the communist, not the commutussy.
There's a rate. Wait, I literally did change the raid sound.
BBD girl pussy.
Thank you, Beans. Ice Beans for the raid. Ice Beans, thank you so much for the raid.
Oh my
I appreciate the
God.
raid. We're getting beamed up, Scotty. Beamed up. Sorry, we just need to wait for the thing. I'm just I don't know what happened. I literally changed the raid notification sound, and I made it shorter. I made it much shorter. I don't know what happened. I mean, I clearly failed at that. But thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate the raid. Super appreciate the raid. Thank you guys so much for everyone. Follow Beans. Ice_beans. Beans. Okay, so I think that you're correct. I think that we're on the same page, and the same page is the following: that no one's hiding the ball. If I wanted to ask who would you trust to create a fresh new system with no constraints, I would have asked that. But if I wanted to ask the question I asked, in which it seems that Steven is understanding, I would have asked what I asked, which is, who would you vote for president? Okay, that makes sense.
I think for me, it helps that we have this discussion, that we've had this discussion now. Like, I think initially I would be like asking the same questions as Destiny, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay, but he's not asking the question right here. He's understanding this question to be getting at, comparing Trump as he was with constraints to a hypothetical Hassan.
You're such a victim, Pisco.
With constraints. Or alternatively, he's comparing Trump with constraints to Hassan without constraints, and that would be bizarre, right? To understand my question as, okay, compare Trump with constraints to Hassan without constraints. Like, who would interpret the question that way? But the fact that he's saying we survived 4 years of Trump, I think must necessitate that he's interpreting the question
stop.
With Trump having actual constraints. Otherwise, this would be bad faith. I think that's fair. And
no, I agree. I agree. His understanding of the question is probably correct. Then I think he probably then just disagrees about the would the constraints actually work against Hassan? But
maybe perhaps. But there's a commentator who says, I think Destiny meant Trump with no constraints versus Hassan with no constraints. If Destiny meant Trump with no constraints versus Hassan with no constraints, why did he say we already survived 4 years of Trump? Because the response would just be,
dude.
Trump actually has some constraints. He has constraints. He wouldn't say, well, we've already survived 4 years of Trump, because the response would be like, yeah, we survived Trump with some constraints, not with no constraints. So that would be silly to say his interpretation of the question was with Trump without constraints. If he's, so like, I think it's the best faith reading. And in terms of what I meant, right? If I wanted to imply the question were like, pick someone to create your new society with unconstrained power, don't you think I would have asked that? Wouldn't a kind of fucking crazy person interpret this question about who you vote for president in the way of like, who do you, choose to have unbridled power to,
Oh my god, just debate already. If you're like willing to beef with Destiny for this long, oh my god. Get your Hispanic ass into Destiny's fucking condo! Go!
Orient your society the way, like, why would I ask this question this way? If what I meant was, pick your person to array your society with a completely unchecked hand. It's so silly
Alice.
of a conclusion to draw. And I think it's clear based on his response, he didn't understand the question that way. All right, and so that's why I clarify. So you would vote for Trump over Hassan, correct? He says, I would vote for the guy who supported Jan 6 versus the guy who supported October 7th. Yeah, so that's him answering the question. He's saying, yeah, he would support Trump over Hassan. In what context? In the context with constraints. In the context with constraints that we've been talking about this entire time, which it seems he understood and I understood, obviously, what I meant, the way a normal person would ask this question. So that's why I say, okay, we have an honest disagreement. I would vote for Hassan over Trump. I see Trump and MAGA as a greater enemy than Hassan Piker. So I don't think here, I'm implying that there's some additional.
But Hassan is just simply a different brand of fascism. He's a fascist. I hate like all these like lefty rhetoric going around. They're fascists, okay? I just don't. I hate it whenever they say that they're different from fascism or whatever. Dude, every single tanky that you talk to are like, again, they display all the traditional traits of fascism. Why call him anything but like a Nazi or a fascist? What? Oh, God. Like, have you ever talked to the average, like, Haas, like, fan? The average Haas viewer? Haas Aldine? Oh, my God. Like... Yes, he did not say constraints. I don't know about the constraint stuff.
Some additional, like, power vacuum or some additional lack of constraint at all here. This is just me repeating. We have a disagreement. I would vote for Hassan. I wouldn't vote for Trump. And he said that's because you don't think tankies are really bad. So now he's addressing the substance. And I say, I hate tankies. I'm not a socialist. So as far as I'm concerned, right? As far as I'm concerned, we've already gotten the question and we have the answer, right? He's answered the question. And I'm just responding and saying we disagree. And then he makes a separate point, which is you don't think tankies are that bad. So he's already answered the question. And I say, I hate tankies. I'm not a socialist, communist like you've convinced your audience. I just think fascist Trump is my bigger enemy. I'm not convinced Hassan could turn this country into a Marxist hellhole if he wanted. I think Trump and MAGA are doing more damage than he could. This is, again, completely...
Okay, I should have said he doesn't dress good, okay? I don't think he's traditionally ugly, okay? I just don't think he dresses well, okay?
I'm not hiding the ball. I'm not shifting terms. I'm operating under my understanding of the question, right? I'm not convinced Hassan could turn this country into a Marxist hellhole if he wanted. I think Trump and MAGA are doing more damage than he could do damage, right? So I'm clearly talking about the world in which we're living with constraints. If I'm not convinced he could turn the country into a Marxist hellhole, if I was convinced he could turn the country into a Marxist hellhole, that would be operating in the world where he has unbridled power. So it's clear, I'm just addressing, I'm not changing the ball at all. I'm not changing the hypothetical. I'm not even asking him another question, right? There's no other question here. So how could I be morphing things, right? So it would be morphing things if I was taking his answer, right? If I was taking his answer and doing something totally unjustified with it or pretending that it means something different than what it does. But he comes with the statement, you don't think that tankies are really that bad. And I'm refuting this. I don't like tankies. I'm not a communist. I just think fascist Trump is a bigger enemy. So as between them, I'm going to vote for someone who's a lesser enemy. And one of the reasons is because I think Hassan couldn't do everything he wanted to do if he could. Or sorry, he couldn't do everything he ideally would want to do. And that is very clear.
I think that statement itself kind of clarifies it. I do have to drop off, but I think, yeah, my initial confusion is that issue with the like whether this is, when you get down to the two people, they're so similar as far as like evils are concerned. Like you have to, like, are we analyzing them as far as what they can do currently in the system, or what ideally it would be like? But I think we clarified that. So
hey,
that makes
thank
sense.
you so much for coming on. All right.
Hello, Zdev.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Peace out.